Hello and welcome to the DFS underscore PhD show for Sunday Night Football on December 3rd. Remember, you're good enough, you're strong enough, and gosh darn it, someone's got to win that money. And hey, well, it wasn't quite us. We were really close. We were all over that Indianapolis or Indiana play. I'm gonna keep calling it Indianapolis for some reason. But we missed the Dallas part of things, and there's been some consideration in the Discord about whether or not we maybe didn't run the right court IQ ahead of time. Possibly so. Once all those extra guys were out, I was only running the court IQ for Kyrie being out, which didn't show that much of an effect for Luka and the other guys. But with all the other guys out, a lot of condensed usage around the guys who did smash, including Lively. Now, granted, you would have probably gotten to some of the other pieces that didn't need to be there besides Doncic and Lively with that same sort of analysis. Curry, also there. But I mean, Curry wasn't in the other analysis, so whatever. But it's a full stack of that other game besides I would say just the best value play per dollar and then Indiana. So congrats to Lion on the 100K. We were dotting them up, man. So close. Like I had 10 of mine were above 300 last night, but none of them above 340 because incorrect Dallas guys and some other missteps. You guys know I've been playing the Atlanta forward situation wrong. And my best lineup had whatever the one of them Bay that did the best, but it's a mistake. All right, so you can still maybe catch the NFL main slate stuff if you've got time, but there's not much to it for that video anyway. So let's get on to this video because I got something to say, which is that it's an easy slate. I mean, for me, for anybody who's contrarian, there's one thing to do today. One thing to do today, and it's Patrick Taylor. There's no need to do other stuff. I mean, you just saw one of the best lineups doesn't have Patrick Taylor captain. Fine. We have to see what goes on with Dontavion. There could be other value that opens up as well. He's a great option if he plays, but and I'm expecting him to play. So I don't have a problem with any projections. Honestly, this game seems properly projected more or less. And I have checked that with my snap counts, my normal thing, because the big question is this big value Patrick Taylor 6 points a real thing or not? And the answer is yeah. Without me checking it out, I have it up here. What percentage do you think him and AJ Dillon split snaps last week? All right. Was it 50-50? It's 50-50, dude. 52 to 48. So yeah, true. Per point per 100 snaps, it was 4 times as much for AJ Dillon. Do I think that is necessarily going to be the case? Definitely not. So anyway, 6 is what you get if you project Patrick Taylor to be half as valuable as AJ Dillon this week. It's perfectly reasonable if you want to say, hey, I think Patrick Taylor and AJ Dillon with equal opportunities will score equal points. I would probably make it a one or the other rule, right? Because they're a 50-50 proposition. But you can definitely say, okay, if AJ Dillon's projected for 11.45 points, there's really no reason not to do this, right? I mean, snap count expectations, maybe you make it like 11 or something to account for the 52-48 thing. But I don't know what you're doing. I don't understand 16% Patrick Taylor today. Nuts. Wild. He's got to be 50% chance of optimal, probably about the same chance he's an optimal captain, maybe 25-50%. He just is so underpriced. He's by far the best value of the slate. He could get in the end zone twice today, no problem. I mean, no problem at all. Right? He gets half the rush touchdowns. I mean, like 12, I think it's about 30% chance that happens. So anyway, I'm going to run Sheets rule today because that set just seems better to me than the other set. Before I even did this crazy buff, I haven't even applied this buff yet. So somebody pointed out it's probably best to go over what are the actual optimal lineups and then how uniqueness layers on top of that, because the actual optimal lineups are a little different, but you don't want to play them. And I'm serious. Like the ownership, now granted, I still am doing a little bit of, my salary is still putting us in a region where these lineups aren't the worst possible optimal lineups. These are like maybe the ones you play in a high stakes satellite or something. In that case, Kelsey, Mahomes, Pacheco, those are your obvious captains. And then maybe, you still look at this. It's still getting me to 5%, almost 4x the field on Patrick Taylor captain, even in the situation where we're not going for uniqueness. Those unique lineups are nonetheless popping up. I mean, not unique, but they're going to be pretty unique. Pretty low dupes on these Patrick Taylors where you spend like 48,100 48,000 lineups. And those are great lineups. Those are winning lineups tonight. Easily 0.15% lineups. So, but that's a good point, actually. I was like, how much am I going to have in the flex? Not that much. Because if Patrick Taylor gets that touchdown or a couple touchdowns or whatever it is, he's a smash play, but he's a smash captain play. He's an okay flex play, but he's just like game over captain play, right? So I'm definitely like where SaberSim has me with a ton of Patrick Taylor captain, and just like I'm still 2x in the flex, and I'm just talking myself out of just steering the boat 100% Patrick Taylor's direction. Because that's how I feel. I mean, that's the only thing I see on this slate. The other things you can kind of like talk yourself into is maybe some sims based on the tight end snap count. So besides that, you have tight ends, Kraft and Sims. So another situation where Kraft scored literally all the points, but Sims was out there 1/4 of the snaps nonetheless, because they run 2 tight end sets. And where do they run them? Yes, if you've been watching the show, you run 2 tight end sets in your heavy sets by the goal line. And in the case where you don't run it in behind your big fat tight end, who you put in for that reason, you might throw it to the tight end. You might throw it to the tight end 2. You might throw it to that weird offensive lineman who is checked in as eligible. I mean, right, that's the play. It's hard to guard all 3 of those guys and the rush up the middle. It's legitimately a tough play. So you're going to see it as an option every single time, and you're going to see these guys. Noah Gray's back to 1.2. That's interesting for sure. Noah Gray's a big part. I mean, like a big part of that offense. Let me go see. But I mean, he's out there. I mean, even with Kelsey back, he's out there a lot. Look, we're talking 56% of the snaps this is that season. So I mean, most of these games are with Kelsey. I don't. That's nuts. It's a really. I got to get some Noah Gray, is where I'm getting to. Because if I'm talking about 0.4 times 12, that's gonna give me a big number. 0.4 times 12 is like 3. 5. Yeah, okay. So you guys know I'm good at some kinds of math. But in any case, 5 is more points than that. So yeah, Noah Gray should be a little higher projected here. He's a better deal than that. But let me go put Noah Gray at 5 on my regular set as well. He's just out there. He's out there all the time. I am going to probably leave Patrick Taylor. I've talked myself into it, guys. It's a bad situation, but he's out there, and I think he's a better player. And so whenever I have that, I have to lose my money this way, guys. It's just how it has to be. Packers defense is a little low owned. Chiefs defense is a little high owned for me to be taking. I don't believe in that. I don't want a 20% defense in the mix. Yeah, so if DeGuara is out, so DeGuara and that other guy I was talking about, the big guy, besides Kraft, Sims. So it's either a DeGuara or Sims play. One or the other of them gets like this value. If DeGuara is active, X out Sims. If DeGuara is inactive, maybe give Sims a little bit of a boost. What do we think? So Sims, if we give him average tight end production of 10 per 100 snaps, no, 1.4 is fine. That's where he's at probably. Yep, 1.2. So yeah, totally fine. We don't need to condense opportunities around Ben Sims. And I think the amount of time we have spent talking about the backup tight ends for Green Bay tells us we're pretty close to the end of the video. So remember, you're good enough, you're strong enough, and gosh darn it, someone's got to win that money. And hey, if you play Patrick Taylor, it might as well be us.